Hello, this is Dave Hurwitz from ClassicsToday.com, here to talk to you about Edward Elgar's greatest work. I'm referring, of course, to the March of the Mogul Emperors from the Crown of India suite. Absolutely the finest thing he ever did. Now, I know that some people might object to this and consider things like maybe, I don't know, the Second Symphony or the Dream of Gerontius to be more important, but I don't think so. I really don't. As England's second greatest composer, I mean, the greatest, of course, we all know was Arthur Sullivan. Elgar's reputation has remained outside of England, that is, somewhat lower than it is there. And the reason it's higher in England is because of pieces like the March of the Mogul Emperors. I mean, the man was such an unashamed imperialist, and music like that gives his countrymen the opportunity to reimagine the glories of the empire long since vanished. Because, the Crown of India was a masque that was composed in 1912 for the coronation of King George and Queen Mary as the Emperor and Empress of India. That must have been one heck of a swell time. Anyway, the suite's lots of fun. It has some number in it called like the Dance of the Nautch Girls, whatever a nautch is. And the March of the Mogul Emperors is the last number. And it's often played separately for obvious reasons. It's just a brilliant encore, filler, whatever you want to call it. It's only like 3 or 4 minutes long, and it's brilliantly scored for a huge orchestra. And in fact, there's sort of an orchestrational tidbit interesting issue that you should know about in connection with the Crown of India suite. And that's very simple. The piece calls for both a tam-tam and a gong. Now, these are not the same thing. And every single modern performance that I've heard uses a tam-tam throughout. The difference is that tam-tams are unpitched and gongs, if not always pitched, although they can be, are constructed differently and have a different sound. And I have some examples for you here, just so you can hear what I'm talking about. Here is a tam-tam. This was custom made for me, actually. Tam-tams, when you hit them, they make a swish. Right? That's a tam-tam. And that's what we normally see in symphonic music. That's the most commonly called for variety of the gong family. This is a gong. Now, as you can see, it is very thick on the edge, and it's made of thicker metal, and it doesn't make a swoosh at all. It makes a bong. You see? Now that's a gong. Most composers don't make a distinction between the two. And in particular, English scores, and in England around the turn of the 20th century, tam-tams were called gongs. And so it was very difficult. For example, Holst in The Planets writes for a gong, but what he means is a tam-tam. So you have to be a little careful when you're dealing with composers who did know the difference, as Elgar did. He used tuned gongs. There's a gong in The Apostles, a tuned gong, and he used the tam-tam. And at the end of the March of the Mogul Emperors, when everything is going crazy and the music is crashing and bashing, he asks not for the tam-tam, which is what everybody today still uses, but the gong. And the reason we know this is because in Elgar's own recording, which you can hear right here in the Elgar edition, however dimly recorded, and it is pretty dimly recorded, you can tell clearly that what's happening at the end is not a tam-tam, but a gong. So if you really want to hear what Elgar wrote and the way he scored it, you have to listen to his own recording. But that's okay. In the meantime, there are 2 great recordings. I'm doing two great recordings of the March of the Mogul Emperors worth having. The first of them is this one, which I have here on my iPhone. I don't know if this is showing up very well, but it's Leonard Bernstein with the BBC Symphony. It's coupled with his incredibly controversial performance of the Enigma Variations, which was actually turned into a video in which he and the orchestra look ready to kill each other at points. It's really quite wonderful. He's lecturing them on how to play their English music, and they're telling him he's basically, doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's just a wonderful example of transatlantic cooperation. And as an encore, he did the two Pomp and Circumstance marches and the March of the Mogul Emperors, and they play the bejesus out of it. It's really terrific, even with the crashing tam-tam at the end. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I mean, the kind of performance that can really only be made by two groups of people two entities that truly detest each other and are out to show each other what for. It has that sort of imperialistic venom that the music really needs. But the best one overall is in this huge box of music by Sir Charles Groves, an absolutely wonderful, imaginative conductor with a wide range of repertoire, another artist who never quite got the attention he deserved. He did the first complete Mahler cycle in England, and he gives an absolute knockout performance of the March of the Mogul Emperors. I do wish people would stop recording things like, Elgar's Cello Concerto and all of those big, long, dreary things he wrote, and they would start recording his truly great music, such as the March of the Mogul Emperors. But because it's available, individually, probably as a download, and you can get it various ways, you can go hear it separately and enjoy the very best that Elgar had to offer. Rule Britannia. Keep on listening, folks. Bye-bye.